What if one ordinary afternoon, one tiny accident, one moment you never planned for, becomes the turning point that reveals what your family truly means? What if something awkward, unexpected, even uncomfortable, becomes the moment that connects two people who had been separated by silence for years? This is a story about understanding, about compassion, about how one small human moment can change a relationship forever. Before we begin, right arrow, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications, because these real-life stories will change the way you see the world. Now let's get into it. The late afternoon sun was slowly sinking, stretching warm golden hues across the backyard like someone had painted the world with soft amber brushstrokes. The light slid across the grass, glimmered against the windows, and cast long shadows that swayed gently with the evening breeze. It was one of those peaceful, quiet days, the kind where everything felt softer, calmer, as though life had temporarily agreed to breathe with you. From the kitchen doorway, Sarah leaned against the frame, watching her 17-year-old stepson, Daniel, practicing his throws against the old oak tree. The tree had been there long before any of them lived in this house. Tall, sturdy, worn with age, its bark etched with years of memories. It had become Daniel's favorite place to practice. Every afternoon after school, he'd head outside, earbuds in, baseball glove on, phone forgotten somewhere in the grass. Today was no different. Except that it was. His laughter carried across the yard, genuine, light, unguarded. It blended with the rustling leaves overhead, mixing into a sound Sarah rarely heard anymore. He hadn't laughed like that in months. She stood there, watching him in silence. 3 years. That's how long she had been part of this family. 3 years since she married Robert and stepped into the role of stepmother. A title many people carried with mixed feelings. For Sarah, it had always been more than just a label. It was a responsibility she tried to honor softly, carefully, without crossing any invisible lines. Because there was a line. An invisible, delicate boundary between her and Daniel. Not hostility. Not resistance. Just space. The kind that naturally exists when a teenager is trying to navigate life on their own terms. Daniel wasn't rude. He wasn't distant in a hurtful way. He was simply a teenager. Polite, self-contained, a little protective of his world of friends, music, and thoughts he preferred to keep private. But today the air felt different. Almost lighter. Maybe it was the way the sunlight hit him. Maybe it was the ease in his movements. Maybe it was the fact that he looked genuinely happy, the kind of happy that didn't have to be forced or hidden. Whatever the reason, Sarah felt a tug inside her chest. A soft nudge telling her to step outside, to break the usual rhythm, to try again, just one more time, to get closer to him. She pushed the screen door open, the hinges squeaking softly. "Could you use some company?" she called out, keeping her voice warm, casual, friendly. Daniel stopped mid-throw and turned toward her, surprise flashing across his face. But it wasn't annoyance that followed, it was a smile. A real smile. "Yeah, actually that'd be nice," he said, tossing the ball lightly in her direction. She caught it, barely, her fingers fumbling just enough to make them both laugh. "Not bad, Sarah," he grinned. "Your reflexes are better than I thought." She smirked. "Careful. I might surprise you." And something in that moment, something small, innocent, simple, opened a door between them that had been closed for too long. They began tossing the ball back and forth. At first, their throws were cautious, almost stiff, like two people trying to figure out how to move in sync. But soon, their rhythm found itself. Their conversation loosened. Their smiles became easier. For the first time in a long time, Sarah saw Daniel let his guard down. Not halfway. Completely. He wasn't the quiet teenager with one-word answers. He wasn't the closed-off boy who disappeared into his room after dinner. He wasn't the careful, watchful child who still carried the loss of his mother deep inside him. Right now, he was just a kid enjoying the afternoon with someone who cared. Sarah felt a warmth rise in her chest, the warmth of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they were finally building something real. A bond not created by marriage certificates or household routines, but by genuine connection. After a while, she decided to tease him a little. "All right, champion," she said. Let's see if you can catch this one. She tossed the ball high, higher than before, making a perfect arc across the sky. Daniel stepped forward, stretching his arm, tracking the ball with the confidence of someone who had done this 1,000 times. But just as he reached up, his foot hit a small uneven patch in the ground. Sarah reached instinctively to steady him. And in an instant, they both lost their balance and tumbled onto the grass. Nothing painful. Nothing alarming. Just messy, clumsy, unexpected. They both burst into laughter, breathless, surprised, and a little embarrassed. For a moment, everything felt wonderfully normal, like a family moment they might look back on someday and laugh about. But then, something shifted. Daniel's laughter stopped. His body stiffened. His expression changed. He looked down, then quickly looked away. And suddenly Sarah understood. Immediately. Clearly. Compassionately. It was involuntary. Uncontrolled. Completely natural for a teenage boy. He turned away, shoulders tense, his face flushing with panic and embarrassment. Sarah didn't react with shock. She didn't step back with discomfort. She didn't give him a look that would make this moment haunt him forever. She simply stood, brushed grass off her clothes, and acted like an adult who understood exactly what had happened. And exactly what not to do. "You okay?" she asked softly, keeping her tone calm, steady kind. Daniel nodded, voice barely audible. "Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't." "Hey," she interrupted gently, her voice warm and unwavering. "It's okay. Really. These things happen. It's normal. Nothing to be embarrassed about." She didn't linger on it. She didn't make it bigger. She didn't make it awkward for him. Because she knew something important, something many adults forget. Teenagers don't need lectures in moments like this. They need kindness. "Come on," she said, smiling softly. "Let's get some cold drinks. It's hot out here." And just like that, she walked toward the house, giving him time to breathe, to recover, to follow her when he was ready. The kitchen felt cooler, quieter. The kind of quiet that presses down slightly on your chest. Daniel sat at the table, hands folded, eyes fixed on the wood grain as though it held the power to erase the last 15 minutes from existence. Sarah didn't push him to talk. Didn't bring up the moment again. Didn't even look at him in a way that hinted at discomfort. Instead, she moved around the kitchen naturally, opening the fridge, grabbing the pitcher of lemonade, clinking the ice into 2 glasses. When she placed the glass in front of him, she gave him a soft smile. "You played great out there," she said gently. Daniel managed the smallest smile, tight, strained, but it was something. She watched his expression, his posture, the way his shoulders slowly tried to fold inward as if to hide his embarrassment. She understood. She remembered being a teenager, how every tiny mistake felt catastrophic, how every awkward moment felt like proof you were strange or broken or wrong. But he wasn't wrong. He wasn't strange. He was just human. So she talked about other things, school, weekend plans, random little updates, slowly helping the tension melt away. Daniel didn't say much at first. But gradually, bit by bit, the color returned to his face. His shoulders relaxed. His breathing steadied. By the time Robert came home, Daniel was back to his usual self, or at least close enough that no one would suspect anything had happened. But Sarah, she kept thinking about it. Not with discomfort, but with care. Had she handled it well? Had she protected his dignity? Had she eased the embarrassment instead of amplifying it? She hoped so. Because trust, especially the fragile trust between a stepmother and a teenage boy, could be easily broken by a single careless reaction. Sarah lies awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the awkward moment, and hoping she had handled it gently enough to protect Daniel's dignity. Cut to Daniel's room. Daniel sits upright in bed, still embarrassed, but more surprised by how calm and understanding Sarah had been. "Daniel, Vio, why wasn't she weird about it? Why was she so kind?" Morning kitchen. The quiet between them isn't uncomfortable this time, just soft and unsure. Daniel finally looks up, voice low. "Thanks for yesterday." Sarah smiles warmly. You're okay. Really? Something eases in him. The last bit of distance between them quietly fades. Their conversations become smoother, their smiles more natural. From that moment on, their relationship begins changing into something real. Something that finally feels like family,